Oh, what's up, demons and demonettes? Tis I, Traxy, Demon Queen. And, today, we're gonna be talking about, Supreme Arena. But before we get into it, as always, toss a like and subscribe down below. Alrighty, so today we're going to, cover some defensive teams, some offensive teams, what I'm currently running, and, yeah, so let's get into it and talk about some stuff. So one of the things that I tell people always when you're running your Supreme Arena teams is always to play into your hero strength. By that, I mean you want to run your highest Paragon heroes in general because this is a PvP mode, and the more Paragon levels you have on your heroes, the stronger they are going to be for PvP. You can kind of get away with running Celestial's Hypos. One Paragon level down to like Supreme Plus is almost as good as Paragon 1 for these types of heroes. That's something to keep in mind when you're building your teams, right? So obviously, you know, we're gonna have teams, you know, that are gonna revolve around our Paragon 4, Paragon 3 heroes. We can sneak in a Paragon 2 hero here and there. It's not a problem, but I think at this point, my entire roster that I'm running in Supreme Arena is at minimum Paragon 3 with mostly Paragon 4. Now, as you can see, there are certain heroes that even I think are really bad for PvP that I necessarily don't like, and I don't have faith in them as PvP heroes, especially since the Paragon stats changed, right? So where in the previous season where Mauler was strong and I could run someone like Lumont, we're not really running him anymore because that dropped off. That's the other thing to consider are the talent tiles when building your teams. But like you can see, like Arena, really good PvE. A bossing hero, I don't think he's one of the best for PvP. I've seen him people use him in PvP. He's okay. Again, he's not my favorite. I have zero faith in like the twins as a PvP hero. I still think they are too squishy. I haven't had an issue fighting them in a team, and I have never had a real success using them on defense. This was even back in a testing on the Pioneer, where I had them at Paragon 4, and that was post buff as well. Alright, so that's being that. So again, our teams are going to play heavily into our big Paragon heroes. There are some heroes that are a lot better for PvP that you're going to want. A Lily May, Athalia, Dunlinger, Tassie, Damien, Ludovic. These are all really strong PvP heroes that you want to look at to have on your roster. Dianel's really dropped off. He kind of got replaced by Cryonaya. Siren's another really strong hero. So we gotta kind of keep these in mind. There's also a bunch of heroes that I really like that I never get to run, like Alenia, Seth. I'm even at the point where I rarely use Bonnie, but she is someone that we will mention when we talk about substitutes. Alright, as for faction tiles, this season you want to go a Wilder. You want to build as many Wilder comps as you can run. I think a good balance is 2 Wilder comps and either 1 Greatborn comp or Shakira Bomb, which is the Celestial Hypogean comp, and we'll kind of talk about that a bit later, more when we talk about teams. Alright, so let's go ahead. We're gonna jump in to Supreme Arena, and we're going to talk about my current defensive teams and my current defensive strategy and thinking, right? So when we build a Supreme Arena defense, we're not just considering, oh, this team's really strong, this team's really strong, and this team's really strong. That's at like a basic level. Yes, we want to have 3 very strong teams, but at the end of the day, all 3 teams on defense need to synergize well with each other. What are we talking about when we are talking about synergy? Well, we're talking about removing heroes and baiting heroes from other comps or other teams that are attacking us, per se. So one of the things we don't want to give our opponents is a free win. And by free win, what do I mean? Is we want to make sure that we counter the Aaron Almas comps that may come our way. Even better yet, we can bait them. So I tend to bait a lot of Aaron Olmis comps, and I'll show you how we kind of like do that, and we can easily bait and beat Aaron comps. With this defense, they do struggle against one of the teams that does look like that would be very good against. So we run a Dunlinger on one map, we run a Lily May on a different map, and then we run a Graveborn on the third map, or a different map. We may switch the teams varied on the maps that we get. It is a little hard to get some of the teams to work the way we want it to work. We have them here. I don't think this is necessarily an ideal map for this team. I think this team does better on more of a concealed map, kind of like Arena 1 or Arena 2, not like this mixed split all over the place type map. So how do these teams counter the Aaron Olmis combo? Well, here you have Dunlinger, right? So Dunlinger just shuts down Aaron. It shuts down any like counters that may block Aaron, right? So people may run a Nero, or they may run Brian in order to counter a Lily May, and we don't have to worry about that with Dunlinger on a defense. He's a great defensive hero. He's a great offensive hero. He's really good in this 3 team mode. All right, so in the second one we run a Lily May. Obviously, as she's hidden here, they can't see her, but just by the fact that, you know, you can kind of guess, like, okay, well, I see Dunlinger on here. There's the possibility that Lily May is going to be spread out on a different map. And then you can see here that I'm running Kaylin and Nara, so that I'm probably running a Reborn type team. So it's a safe bet that Lily May is going to be on 2. Now, if they want to attack me on 2, they have to put Aaron out here with a Brian or a Nero, which isn't necessarily going to work too well. It's going to put your opponent at a disadvantage, right? Because now they're running maybe a hero they don't have built up that much, or that isn't overly all that great for PvP. So then we bait them into attacking this team. Now, the advantage of this team on defense is that we have Kaylin, Ludovic, and Siren, who are all unaffected at the start of battle. So no vacuum, no root. The only 2 heroes that may get vacuumed and rooted here are Nara, for one, and Harak. Okay, so they're gonna get rooted. But the thing is, they're getting rooted into Ludovic and Kaylin, so that's more than enough to protect them from any vacuum or early burst damage that they made, right? So that's kind of like considering, okay, we got boom, 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 boom. All right, so now let's go talk about the teams in general. Now that we kind of have, like, okay, we've accounted for Aaron Olmis on all of those maps, and like I said, this Graveborn team is great for baiting those Aaron Olmis comps, and it's very good at destroying those comps because they heavily rely on control. This is a counter control team. It's a disguised counter control team, at least for me, that I've seen. Like, a lot of people who run control won't beat this. They have to run something else, and they typically don't. Alright, so let's talk about Team 1. So as you saw, I am running 2 Wilder teams and 1 Graveborn team. I think this allows me to run my strongest heroes overall and build some very strong, very devastating comps. Now, it is worth mentioning that we do need to run 3 Wilders on this team. So we have a Cryonaya, and she's our win condition on this team. She is going to have the Conceal tile, which is devastatingly good. It means she's not going to be able to be easily targeted at the start of battle. So a lot of those stuff that target the rear hero, that like positional targeting, Siren targeting, all that stuff, not gonna work here. Not gonna be that much of a problem. We are giving her the Lightforge artifact as well, which is like an lightning spell, but dialed up to 11. It's going to add extra execute to her, so that when people do get into her Frost Realm, that she is going to be able to quickly burn them down and kill them off, right? So we're going to be able to freeze them off. So basically our win condition here is getting to the Cryo Naya ult. We are running a Dunlinger again to shut down any Aaron Almost comps, any burst comps. We have Leica in here, who's a very, very strong PvP hero. She does do a considerable amount of damage, and she does buff the entire team. But we are running Damien because he is great with the Wilder tile set, because these do conceal these heroes. So we do want to run stronger heroes out here that either are very tanky or that can kind of, like, we'll say, cheat death, and we'll see that on team 2. Alright, so Dunlinger is going to shut down any boost. Almost at a high Paragon level is a very difficult hero to deal with. He's very tanky. If he goes below his damage threshold, he's going to move to the back, and he's going to offer shields out to our team, and he kind of becomes like this support type hero, in addition to Damien, who's untargetable, and he's going to throw out his cart, which does a ton of heals, right? And so we've got our primary damage dealers on the conceal tiles, keeping them safe for the most part via the conceal. And yeah, now as for subs, if you don't have a Cryonaya belt here, you could run a Dianel. It is set up well to work with a Dianel as well. The only issue is you're not going to be able to get him his full nectar stacks in this one. Or if you do, it's going to take a while, because we then need to get that buff from Damien, which could be a minute or not at all. So it's kind of like iffy running Dio in here, but you could run a Dio if you don't have your Cryonaya built up. You could also sub in a Parisa for a Leica. They're a little bit similar. I just gotta give the edge to a Leica when it comes to PvP. Now, we're not using Arden. We could, of course, run Arden as well. If you have your Arden built up, he's not going to give a buff out to a Cryonaya, but he's going to offer some control, which is going to be annoying for opponents to deal with, and that sort of thing. Alternatively, you could go for another support hero, and you could run Haywin in here. So those are kind of some of your subs. If you do not have Dunlinger, you're going to be a little bit vulnerable to control. So you want to run another, I would say, counter control type hero. If we look at the list, we've got Brutus, we've got Tamesia, we've got Igor, we've got kind of like a Viperian. It's just not that they're very tanky. You've got a Leica or Valka, but I don't really like Valka that much. I thought she was a little... Compared to my roster, she just doesn't fit. You've got a Scarlita you could squeeze in here, right? So you have a couple options that you can sub in. That's just basically, we're running a conceal team. So we have our heavy hitter here on the conceal tile, and then we have kind of the support team based around them. Now, we'll go to team 2. This is our big conceal team. This is probably one of the strongest teams. It's not the strongest version of this comp that you can run. I think if you swap out Damien for Lorson, and then you put, say, a Damien here, you put a Lorson here, you're going to be a little bit better off. Or you could go as far as put Damien here to give the defensive buff to Cassie. We're just kind of hiding everybody in the conceal tiles here, right, the hidden tiles at the start of battle to kind of mess with our opponent. But the thing is, we have Athalia. Also, alternatively, you could set it up something like this. That would work well, because it doesn't really matter if Athalia dies or not here. So that's something else to consider. You could do, like I said, if you ran a Damien, you could drop Lorson here, you could put Athalia here. You would drop Lorson, and then you would put Damien behind, like, Taylene here. But this is just kind of how I'm running it this week. So those are some options you have here. If you don't have Athalia built, you can certainly not run Athalia. You can run Alenia. Alenia is a great option to run in this team. She works really well with the conceal tiles as well. Rack did a whole video on her and talked really in depth about how powerful these conceal tiles are. That's just kind of what everybody's calling the Wilder tile set now, because it conceals everything. Just in my side in testing, this is one of the strongest teams. Again, I run a version of this for my Vanguard squad that is almost unbeatable. It just devastates, right? So if you want like the best team that I think you can run for PvP at this time, it really is something like this. Where's our Damien? Let's yank a Damien. The problem is that we're kind of building, we have to build 3 teams here. So this would be probably the strongest version of this team that you could run at this time. This is probably the strongest PvP team that you can run, period. A lot of teams are going to struggle to beat this team. I don't run it on my friendly duel because I don't want anybody cracking this team easily, right? We don't want to make it easy on our opponents. So you definitely, if you run a team, don't put that team up as your friendly duel. Like, I may have a Graveborn Athalia friendly duel team up that's kind of built off my Graveborn shell that I'm never going to run in Supreme Arena. So if people hit it, I don't care. That's another thing to consider. All right. So now that we kind of have those teams squared away, yeah, I mean, it stinks because we can't get Bonnie in. Alternatively, yes, you could, you have 3 Wilder heroes. You could drop, you know, Athalia. You could run Bonnie. I would, in that case, run it more like this, right? So we have Bonnie on that conceal tile. This is also a very strong team, and again, an alternative if you don't have Alenia. I would say to run Alenia on the other map, but the problem was with Alenia on map 1, you would have to kind of swap your teams, right? Because as we can see when we get our hero in here, and this is why I don't want to run a Lorson on this map with this team, is because we can't get him on a conceal tile. And we want to get our damage dealer on that conceal tile. So we kind of like have to sacrifice running the #1 comp to embolden and strengthen our second comp, right? Because we have to think, as a defender, I have to win 2 matches, right? So I cannot run the strongest overall team, because then what your opponent can do is they can avoid that team. So that's why on this map, right? So we can't run really like Alenia effectively. We could try to run the conceal team. It's just that I'm running the conceal team with Athalia, and she's not really good for this map. Just because these fences get in the way and can be very annoying to deal with. So this map favors more ranged heroes. So we want to run a more ranged team on this map. All right, so let's go to team 3. All right, so now we have our Graveborn team. This team is devastatingly good. The linchpin in this team is the same linchpin that is in my arena team, and that is Kaelin, just because that Kaelin Ludovic combo is so strong. Now, it is worth mentioning that you do want your Kaelin to be within 1 Paragon level here. And now I get a lot of people may have slept on Kaelin. They may have passed on Kaelin because, you know, hey, we had Valka, Gerda, which was a dud in my opinion, Kaelin, and then we had Faramore, and everybody just kind of wanted to wait out and see. So whereas Faramore is more of the PvE type hero, which tend to be favored in people's priority because they want to rank higher for Dream Realm, and they don't want to be risked being power crept out of their, you know, top spots in a Dream Realm so that they can get their top rewards. They may have skipped Kaelin, but you could very much just pull your Faramore to S+, and then if you can, Paragon up your Kaelin. Now, in testing the shell, we do have some options here. We don't necessarily have to run Kaelin. We don't have great options. Igor is a great option in here. You're not gonna get that bubble at the beginning, so you are going to be a little bit more vulnerable in this formation than the other formation. But Igor is a great Kaelin substitute. Crazy, I know. You can substitute Falca as well. She works really good. She's a very not the best PvP hero, but she is still very strong. She is very tanky. She is like a Sonya Light. She's going to buff your heroes as well. The thing about the team with the Kaelin shell is I like it because it protects the range, right? So our main goal here is to protect Siren as much as possible because he is the hyper carry on the team. He's just that good of a PvP hero. And then we have Harak doing Harak stuff on the side. Alright, so again, another hero that works here that a lot of people probably have and have invested is Thorn. Yes, Thorn will work with this comp. He is very good with this comp. It's just that in practice, Kaelin is better. Alright, so now that we've got kind of like our Kaelin subs, let's talk about some other subs that we could run on this team, right? So Nara isn't somebody people may not have invested. Someone else you could run that I mentioned that we don't necessarily get that great spot for is a Bonnie. I just don't really like her on this map. You could put her here. You could put her on the hidden tile as well. She's good to go over here because she's ranged. The advantage of running a Nara on this map is the way it works is she's going to yank whoever over into melee range, which is going to allow Harak to attack that melee ranged hero, and kind of keep our Harak and everybody kind of like grouped up in the circle. That's the advantage of running a Nara, and why I like running Nara. Nara, again, a very strong PvP hero to run hero. Again, we can substitute. Sylvina also works with this. I like Sylvina a little bit better if you are going to run an offensive version. Why? Because then we get the Sylvina Harak combo. That is a very devastating combo in PvP, because what's going to happen is Sylvina is going to jump the hero, then Harak's going to go over and whack the hero. This has easily killed off heroes like a Dianel. It doesn't work as well, I will say, against those wilder teams, but what you can do is you can easily burn down those non-concealed heroes. And between Kaelin's shield and Ludovic's heals, we kind of are able to keep most of our heroes alive through that concealment phase. And once those heroes become unconcealed, we can quickly burn them down, vacuum them up, and send them into the black hole of despair and death. Okay, now say we're running something like this, and you don't have a Harak built up. You could run Athalia works on this team as well. Oh, and to mention, if you do have Kaelin and you run Thorin, that is also a very viable option as well as a substitute for Nara. So you can run something like this. The only issue is that it doesn't really work on the map. Sometimes we get a lot of these weird maps. So the Kaelin is going to be here, which means that Siren is going to be out, right? We want anybody in the Kaelin team to be within 2 tiles of Kaelin, right? So if we don't have Harak, say you do have your Bonnie, and you do need some subs, Faramore is a one hero that you could sub in. I found he worked okay with this team. Athalia works well with this team. Another ranged hero that's strong that you just have sitting out there can work well with this team. It's just basically who do you have left over that you're not running. You could run like a Viperian. You could run again Valka. If we look at the roster, maybe you could squeeze like an Odie in here. He is a ranged hero. He would be protected. We could squeeze in a Burial. He's just a nuisance. We could stick in a Vala. Again, now we've got some real weird targeting hero abilities that are going to be devastatingly good on there. Now, One of the teams that we can't really run this week that I really like for the talent tiles, because we just can't set it up, where I think it would actually, well, this is the only map I think where it could work, where our Shakira is going to be fenced in, right? So, no, it's not going to work because the talent tile is not, it would be over here. All right, so we can't run Shakir Bomb this week. It's just not going to work on the maps. But what we can do is we can go into Friendly Duel and we can talk about this team. This is a very good team. Oh, we just need to find someone that I know is running map 1. Guys, map 1 is the Vanguard map. It's the easiest map to show things on. Alright, so we can just drop them. Alright, so Shakira Bomb basically works. You want to run a Celestial Hypo team. I like it with the Overcharged spell. It's going to allow Shakira to quickly get his energy. Alright, so then we need to run 3 Celestial Hypogeans. Now, keep in mind that we want to run a team that makes a use of our strongest heroes. Now, I did have some Celestial Hypos that I wasn't running on the other teams. Now, you want to run Freyasto here because we need to box Shakir in. So, if we can box in our Shakir, is going to prevent, so basically what he's going to do, he's going to jump over and he's going to act like a bomb and he's going to do a ton of damage. We also want the Celestial Hypo tiles built up as much as possible. Now, one of the things I ran it with is I ran it with Sonya, just because Sonya's a great hero that I don't get to squeeze in to a PvP team very much. I had a Burial left over. You could run a Burial in here, right? He counts towards that faction bonus. Scarlita doesn't work too great. I mean, we could run Scarlita. We would just put her maybe like here. Then we could put. Now you have 2 options because they are running a Lily May. So we do want to run a hero that is going to eat that Lily May counter to prevent Shakira from getting countered. So you could run Nero, you could run Brian. In this case, let's try a Nero. Oh, perfect. He's not going to give his buff out to anybody, which kind of stinks. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. Now, we do need another hero. At this point, you could sub in a multitude of heroes. You could throw a support in. You could throw another damage dealer in. You could throw an... Typically, the way I like to run it, though, is I typically like to put a Cryonaya here. And the reason why I like to run it with Cryonaya, it gives us a dual win trigger. And by that, I mean we have Shakira Bomb, but if Shakira gets countered, but say like they run a Dunlinger, it's still going to give us a Cryonaya out there, who's going to be very, very effective. Alright, so maybe we get those out. We still need like one more hero. Someone we weren't running on, you know, we could really run anybody here. I'm not sure if it really matters too much. Again, it's primarily going to be a Shakira team, but let's try it with Scarlita. We can see how it goes. Again, this is a very strong concealment team. This is the one that I recommended. It's not, like I said, it's not the strongest formation here, and they only have a Paragon 3. So we need to find one more hero. Let's go. Let's try Igor. Why not? My formation is full. So never mind. All right. So we got our heroes in. So we'll put our Scarlita here, right? Because we ran. Oh, that's right. Because we had to run hero to eat the Lily May. So we'll hit go and we'll see what happens, and you can see how it works. So as you see, Shakira gets boxed in. He instant ults, and he's going to do a ton of damage here. The problem is he died. Again, it's a strong team, but we got, like I said, we're going up against one of the strongest concealed teams. So, is it the best team? No. I've had much more success in running against other teams, but as you can see here, very strong. This is why I also don't like running like Nero and comps to eat Lily May. So that's one of those things to consider on attack. Like I said, this week we can't run it. It's a shame. It's a very strong team. Now, as for Mauler, I think they suffer this season. Their tiles aren't all that great. So it makes all my invested Mauler heroes bad this season. It makes it look like, you know, we made a bad move, right? Because we're not really running a Mauler. We don't have the ability to teleport over. They're not immune to control effects like last season. So it's very, very difficult to squeeze in that Mauler comp, right? So the best thing you can do, like I said, run 2 Wilder comps, run an Aggreeborn comp, and then just run the subs if you have those. As for attack, any of these teams work on attack. I personally don't really get to attack that much because I just sit in first. But when I do run attack on, say, my free-to-play account or my second account, I do make a use of those tiles, right? So I'm going to run 2 concealment teams. I am going to run a Aggreeborn team if I can. If I can't, that's maybe when you slip in that Mauler team. They're kind of like the fourth best option. So if you can't run a Celestial Hypo, then you could squeeze in that Mauler comp. Now, something I might run for a Mauler, again, if we'll just go back into Supreme Arena, and we'll just kind of like throw something out there. So we'll just kind of like pick someone at random here, because not everybody sets up a friendly duel team. Alright, so this is something that we might see. If I was going to run Mauler, again, we would probably want a Shakir. He's a very strong hero. We would want, I would say, Brutus. He's a very good frontliner. For a killer, we would want, say, Odie or Seth. You could run a Makola here, right? So we kind of want to, like, alright, so these teams are going to get the tile advantage. We could go, again, maybe we could run Coco, and then, like I said, Seth, we could run something like that to go pure Mauler. We could drop Seth, we could sneak in a Harak, we could sneak in a Dahlia. Those are all good options. You could sneak in a Lenya, who I think is an upgraded choice versus Seth. Yes, Seth has his advantages, and yes, Seth's really, really good for PvP. I just think of the two, if you have equal investment, Lenya has the edge, and she works really well because this is a melee-based team. The problem with running melee this season, this season favors those conceal tiles and favors ranged teams at this time. So it's very difficult to run these melee teams and get success. As for Lightbearer comps, you know, they definitely have become the weakest faction. They only have 2, maybe 3 really good PvP heroes. You notice I have Stormstrike. Stormstrike is my favorite on attack, but we do have a Surging, which is also very, very good. You also have Harmonic, you have Ice Guard spell, and you have the Lightforge spell. You can also run Overcharge, but I think that one's a little bit weaker. So definitely Lightforge is big for the added execution. So those are some tips on various artifacts that we can run. But if you're gonna run a Lightbearer, make sure that you are running your Serum. He is a very, very strong. Next option I would probably go with is Sonya, so that we can buff him. If you have a build Luca, he is a very stally. I wouldn't go necessarily pure Lightbearer because they do struggle in the support hero. When it comes to a PvP, we only really have, I mean, support wise, we have what, Rowan, Hugin, and Faye. I have mixed feelings about Hugin. I'm not the biggest Hugin fan when it comes to PvP, so I might run someone else. Muriel is semi-viable, and here we are going to get the talent tile because she does do a lot of damage now with her Enhanced Force. You have a Sinbad, who's generally a pain to deal with. I typically run him on other accounts. I think he's a decent PvP hero. Then we have Avala, who's I feel like really dropped off, and Cassidy, who's just kind of like generally a pain to deal with in PvP. She is now like a lesser version of Siren. She just doesn't have the execute, where Siren has the execute. So Siren is a far better version of your Cassidy. You could run Temesia as well. As for other heroes, I mean, Walker's not too bad when it comes to PvP, especially with his Enhanced Force. He may just be someone that people slept on because he was not very good early on, so a lot of people may not have him built up. You can see here, I only have him really built 4 stages from last season, and just because for the fact that we had limited light bearers that were viable, that he got up to Paragon 2. Some other heroes you could run with this, again, you have your Seth, who's a very, very good PvP hero. Reese is very, very good. Soren's not too bad, and he is a viable option here. That's another option. I mean, again, you could run Bonnie anytime you can get Bonnie on a team. It's basically who's left over that is your strong PvE heroes that you can stick in here on the Lightbearer side of things. Not my favorite. Yep. So I think that's gonna be it for this one. Maybe I'll do an updated video going forward each week, depending on how this one does, and that way we can just update our teams. One of the things that I refuse to do is I won't change this account's arena, Supreme Arena defense. I don't really change it on a lot of my other accounts as well, just because I'm already going ahead and running some of the strongest comps that I can on those accounts. It's just that we're demoing here because we do have every hero here, and we do have every hero built. So as you can see, right, I don't really get like attacked a whole lot. I mean, we still have our record from day 1 where we unlocked Supreme Arena and we did our first attack. That's how little I get attacked. Now, I'll see more attacks on lighter accounts that I run there. Maybe we'll take a look more at some of those accounts in the future and what I'm doing there. But one of the things, like I said, I won't update my teams until I actually lose. That's semi-true, right? Because what we're going to do is we're going to update, obviously, our teams for any new heroes that come out that are really, really strong for PvP. So you can see we updated for Cryonaya. Oh, we updated for Athalia. We updated for Lorson we had at the beginning of the season. So I've been running him ever since the season started. Just because I already knew, based on the Pioneer, I thought he was going to work better with the Griefborn at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, a Wilder is just so much stronger for PvP. That was early on speculation from the first patch on Pioneer. But once we got to test out the double talent tiles, we kind of saw how strong Wilder actually was with the concealment. And then I found that Griefborn was probably the most, other than Wilder on a Wilder Violence, that Griefborn was the most reliable way to counter those teams. And then again, we had another update on this team for Siren. I think prior to Siren, maybe I was running Cryonaya here, maybe I was running a Burial here. Like I said, there's any multitudes of heroes we could substitute in. I didn't get Faramore into a squad yet. I don't particularly like him for PvP. I feel like he's a little bit too on the squishy side, even at Paragon 2, where we're able to, you know, kind of sneak. Now, it could be that he needs to be Paragon 3 to survive against Paragon 4, similar to Kaelin. In those regards, unlike Siren, who is someone we could run at Supreme Plus against Paragon 4 and have some success. I, in particular, wouldn't change up these teams too much. Even if I lost, then maybe I would have to make some switches. but my teams are just so strong. This team, like I said, this team I really wouldn't change overall. The only ones to potentially I think change would be this team, because you can counter this team with a heavy burst team. That's what beat this team on Pioneer when it was Paragon 4 on Paragon 4. So like that, like the popular team that is Taylene, Bonnie, Cassie, Lily May, and Damien with the concealed tiles can give this team problems. That's why we need it to run it in its strongest form at Paragon 4. Here, I don't know that I would necessarily change too much. I think I had a different Wilder in here at, I think at one, oh, I was running Tassie here originally, but again, we switched it out because I was running some weird team that was Wilder as well that utilized Lily, right? So I think this team was probably a little bit stronger when it had Tassie in it, but we went for Tassie on the super duper team here because we wanted a near unbeatable team. And I think just in my district at this time, this team is, for me, this team is unbeatable. This team going to be very difficult to beat for most players in my district, and this team is probably unbeatable as well for my district. That's just the advantage of having a mostly Paragon 4, Paragon 3 roster, right? So again, one of the big things is we're playing in to our Paragon levels, and this one's gone for quite a bit. I didn't need to go this long, so we're gonna call it here, and we'll see how it goes, and then we'll do subsequent videos in the coming weeks, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!